Item D, discussion, Twin Lakes and Northwest Conference.
We've got some information in your board packet that looks like this. Twin Lakes and Northwest Conference school superintendents have been meeting off and on for 9 to 12 months. Primarily talking about the fact that schools are sharing within the conferences. Schools are sharing with people outside of those conferences, and about the time the conferences get healthy numbers of schools, then there's some mergers and then things change. The information that you have is exactly what's happened at this point. What all of the Twin Lakes Conference and Northwest Conference superintendents agreed that we would do would be two things. Number one, at our April board meetings, we would bring this resolution, which simply states that you're giving permission for the superintendent to continue to have superintendent and the AD to continue to have conversations with Northwest and Twin Lakes Conference, within the Twin Lakes Conference. One school did this in March. I think everybody else is going to be doing it in April. We also have a press release that we jointly put together with all of the superintendents, and that was going to be released at the very end of April or the first part of May. You might have heard two area superintendents a week and a half ago spoke on the radio on KBYL and actually used the news release, and it caused quite a stir because it came out before schools had meetings. And I walked in the door of a building in our district and there were 5 or 6 people right away. Did you hear what was? I'm like, yep. And you know what? We agreed that that wasn't going to happen, but it did, and life goes on. So once we get resolutions from schools, then we've got a press release to go out to the newspapers for all the area schools involved. In Twin Lakes Conference, Pocahontas will be full grade sharing continuing to full grade share with Conroy Palmer, and they, I think, have already agreed, if I understand it right, to a reorganization maybe 2 years from now. The superintendent at Rockville City Lytton, I was talking to him about something else and asked him how their meetings, Rockville City Lytton's meetings with Nancy Northwest Webster and Southern Cal had gone, and he said actually Nancy Northwest Webster meeting was very productive. He said we just didn't get much of a feel that Southern Cal was very interested. So right within our conference we've got some things taking place. Shayla Crestland, a neighbor of ours, with talking to Galva Holstein. So there's lots of change. Alta and Aurelia, I made the comment last night and somebody in the audience kind of raised their eyebrow, but the two superintendents sat right in this room from Alta and Aurelia and said they're talking again. I thought that meant the districts. Maybe it just meant the two superintendents were talking again. I don't know. But there are conversations, and you can get a conference that's so small that it's tough to make it work. The worry is the size of the conference that involves all these schools. So we really are talking so that you don't get panicked about this. East, west, north, south. There'd be some crossover games, and so the long travel games, like for Southeast Webster Grand, to go to a Shayla Crestland Galva Holstein, for instance, might happen once a year rather than playing them twice a year. It might be a once every other year or once every third year. Many conferences today are organized in what are called super conferences, where there are North Division, South Division, East, West, and you play a group of schools, but then you have 2 or 3 games from the other side of that conference, and you only have to travel far once or twice a year, or every other year to that school, or every third year. So what I'm looking for from you, if you would do it, would be to pass that resolution that the superintendent and athletic director are directed to continue discussions and coordination of merger plans for Twin Lakes and Northwest Conference.
You hear things when you go from school to school, and I heard that Honda applied to get into our conference, or this conference, during this whole process that was going on. Did you do the same thing?
Actually, all the Northwest Conference schools came, and the school that had actually applied to come in without Northwest Conference really knowing about it all was Sioux Central.
Okay, I heard that too.
Sioux Central actually had applied to come into the district or into the conference, and that was before there was all this merger talk, and it had tentatively been agreed they would enter the conference, and then the whole Northwest Conference said, wait a second, we'd really like to talk with you before you let just one school in. can we talk about something, because we're kind of struggling out here. So it wasn't Newell Fonda, it was Sioux Central that had made that move, so.
Well, Lorenz used to be a part of this conference, because they turned this one for a while.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, they used to be in Twin Lakes and they're in Northwest Conference. Yep. Actually, one meeting we had probably 30 schools present. We invited all sorts of area schools around us. Quite a number of schools further to the east and down toward the southeast, like the Humboldt, the Rolling Stories. Part of what we were looking for are schools that are 2A schools. But as there's some mergers of schools, we're going to garner more 2As. So, for instance, a Manson, Northwest Webster, Rockville City, Lytton would be getting close to that 2A size. Some of the Northwest Conference schools are very small, and even merging doesn't make them a 2A, but they certainly are larger, and then the competition is more similar as well. Not that we don't get beat by a small school sometimes, I'm not saying that. But we really think it's in the best interest, and when I say we, the superintendents and ADs, really think it's in the best interest of Twin Lakes Conference and Northwest for us to continue to talk and look at what some possibilities might be. So.
I'll move that we pass this resolution.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to pass a resolution stating the superintendent and AD continue to have discussions in conferences. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.